Hi, Steve.
Sorry. Hi, Ted.
How
How
are
are
you?
you?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks so much for chatting with me. I really appreciate it.
Of course, that's a serious mic there.
I do what I can. I do what
Yeah,
I feel like Larry King, so it's just to make me feel
good. Larry
feel
King's good.
official.
Yeah,
Um, Thank you for the time. Starling is a really wonderful film. I really enjoyed it.
thank you.
Yeah, I was wondering, what is it that excited you about the project?
I think I was most attracted to the storyline of a couple getting through a really rough patch, a really traumatic event, and coming out on the other side hopeful. Like that to me is inspiring. That's kind of what I'm trying to do in my life. Is I'm trying to get better. I think I think I'm trying to get better or gooder, if that's a word. And I think we all are ultimately trying to get better and gooder. And this is a movie that shows you how it happens and how it can happen and that it's possible and that there is the proverbial light at the end of the tunnel. You know, especially now, like especially with what's happened in the last 2 years when the world has been suffering a collective grief, you know, all at once. To me, it's important to shine a light anywhere you can. Like it can be dark out there, it can be cynical, it can be divisive, it can be sad. Like no one wants to talk about it, right? They just want to just push through and sweep it away, but it doesn't go away. It doesn't go away. We need help. We need reminders. And the Starling, I hope, is a reminder.
That's one of the things I love about the film is even though it takes place in a very specific situation, it feels like it's talking about a much bigger process.
Mhm.
It's this is very much a film about a couple in grief. It's also very much a film about just grief.
Yeah.
Actually, and I was interested in this too. The film almost seems to settle in the inevitability of the gray areas of life. I appreciated that. It didn't just sort of land on, well, this is how you deal with things. It sort of sits there. I was wondering why that was so important to you.
Well, I mean, you know, I went to my undergraduate degrees in psychology, and I started my master's work in psychology in Kansas City before I left to become a writer in LA. And I'm always fascinated with therapy and different techniques and styles of therapy. And the truth is, over the course of my life, I've learned there's no real right way to do anything. There's no real right way to go through grief. There's no handbook. There's no, here you do this, you do that. Here's the therapy that actually works for grief. There is no therapy that actually works for grief, except that you do it, except that you do something. You know, in this movie, you have three people experiencing three different mental health philosophies, right? You have Chris O'Dowd, who takes a traditional timeout and goes to a facility to kind of just shut down, be quiet, and figure it out, right? Then you have Melissa McCarthy's character, Lily, who processes her grief by barreling through. She's just not going to stop, and she's going to outrun her grief, right? And then there's Kevin Kline's character who quits, right? He quits what he did love because he thought that's too painful to deal with. So I'll go over here and see if it's any better. My therapist used to always tell me, everywhere you go, there you'll be. And I was like, oh, I'm like, that's pretty profound. And I don't like her for that. But anyway, everywhere I went, I was there. So what she means is like, if you fail in this relationship or you struggle in this relationship or you have unresolved grief or whatever it is in this relationship, when you get to this next relationship, you're going to be there and you're going to be going through the exact same thing. And you're going to go, why do I always have, how many times have you said, why do I always have this problem? Why? Well, you always have the problem because it's you have that problem. Right. So that's what the movie is about. Everyone processing and dealing with grief on their own terms in their own way and actually coming out the other side happy. Like just happy. And like, what's wrong with happiness? It seems like happiness has become like, what, a bad thing? Happiness is the best thing you can have.
Yeah. It is fascinating in some ways that you use the starling as such a metaphor, the starling itself. You know, that it's funny because the film isn't really about the bird, you can forget that the movie's even called that in some ways, if that makes any sense. And then you realize that that's such a central thing. So I have to ask, what is it about that particular bird that you felt this is a great analogy for what we want to get across?
Well, the starling as a species, as a bird, as a member of the bird species, is exact. The starling is a perfectionist. The starling is territorial. The starling is a pest. The starling destroys crop fields. The starling is perfection. Their murmuration is pure perfection. So they live this kind of rigid, vigorous lifestyle, right? I don't know who they would be in terms of if you can compare them to a human. So if you disrupt a starling's nest, they will attack you until the cows come home. They just will attack you, and that's what they do. And so the starling in this movie was a perfect analogy to life. Here, Melissa McCarthy doesn't stop, and she won't stop, right? So at some point, she needs someone to stop her, to tell her stop and deal with yourself. And it was a bird. This bird comes and just swoops her and pecks her and attacks her, and she's forced to stop and deal. And that's what she does. And so that starling as a bird, I think, is the perfect analogy for the film and for Lily's grief.
Well, here's a rather strange question for you about that. Do you view it as a villain?
No, I view the starling as an asshole. So there's a big difference between an asshole and a villain, because I could be an asshole many, many times. So there's really no, the starling's an asshole, and a good asshole. You know, you have those good assholes in your life. You're like, that person's such an asshole, but they say the best things. They help me. They're honest. Why are they an asshole? Because they're honest. The starling's honest with Lily when Lily's not honest with herself, right? And so he's not a villain. He's not good. He's not bad. He just is. That starling just is.
As time is winding down too, I wanted to ask you, Ted, about what do you think hope looks like in a story like this, especially one that's so focused on collective grief?
Hope looks like you put your arm around the person you love, give them a kiss, and you go. I think we'll try to figure it out. Really.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fair. And without speaking too much about the specifics of the film and its ending, I do think the ending image is beautiful. It works really well and ties in with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's the film is it's strange to say that it's a lot of fun because there are moments where it is. But at the same time, there's also moments where it really focuses. Oh, and I knew what I wanted to ask as well. Just my last question here for you is Melissa McCarthy. I was wondering what she brought to the process of the story and as the script evolved.
She brings an energy and a life and a love and a warmth to set that is you can't duplicate. It just she creates a family wherever she goes. She's generous and kind and a great leader, and an amazing talent. And she's able to make everyone feel comfortable. She makes you feel comfortable, and she makes you a better person. She's so good, she makes you a better person, and she makes you laugh all the time, and she makes you smile all the time, and then she breaks your heart. So she's she is Wonder Woman.
Wow. Wonder Woman. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Ted, I really appreciate it. I wish you the best with the film. I'm in Toronto, saw it here at the festival.
Oh, great.
The joy. So thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.